Coming up next on the Average Sports Guys podcast, we're talking about updates going around the NFL, and we're also going to touch on the NBA draft. All that and more coming up next.
You're listening to the Average Sports Guys podcast with Eddie and Marcus.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yo,
This
yo.
is Eddie and Marcus. We are back for episode 10.
Yes. There you
Stumbling
go.
block.
The stutter a little bit, yeah.
Yep, episode
Yes.
10. Double digits.
10 episodes. That's a big deal.
Yeah, man. As you heard in the intro, so we're going to talk about the NBA draft, which happened last night.
Yeah.
That's more Marcus's thing than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of go around the NFL. Camp is right around the corner. June is almost over. Today's the 21st, first official day of summer.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah,
So let's just get
get-
into that.
Let's get right into it. You know what? Let me go ahead and start off with the NBA draft. I only have a few notes on it. Unfortunately, I had to work, and I just caught, a lot of the highlights. But, the biggest few things throughout the whole night was the fact that Zion Williamson was drafted number 1 overall.
Which was no surprise.
No surprise. I mean, they tried to float the idea, the Pelicans might not draft Zion. No, we all knew exactly where that man was going to go.
Right.
And I think the biggest upside for the Pelicans right now is the fact that they have so many young, talented players that are, that are going to grow with a talented vet and Drew Holiday. I think that's going to be a huge upside to them. They have Ingram now. They have Lonzo Ball, who can't score, but he is a great defender, great distributor. Obviously Zion, and so much more. Like, I honestly think this is going to be a decent squad. Maybe not next year or the year after, but year 3 or 4. If they can retain everybody, that squad's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, so it was funny that what's his name? That Ball kid got sent to
Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, because I remember, what was it, like mid-season last year,
Mm-hmm.
they were saying he wasn't going to go. Like, it was his dad, he was like,
Oh,
yeah, he
yeah,
ain't
that
leaving, he
chunk.
ain't leaving L.A., he's this, he's that, he'll never play in New Orleans and blah, 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 all that crap. That's exactly where he went.
Exactly where he went. And then he went on First Take after that and was like, oh, well, that's exactly what I wanted him to do. I'm playing chess. No, dude, you definitely didn't want your child to leave L.A. and go somewhere else. Granted, I do think he probably will be in a better situation with New Orleans, but I think it's time for this guy to stay in the background. And
It's been time.
It's been time, and not to get too far away from the main point, but he said something crazy to Molly Curran on First Take the other day, and he said that, well, you can switch gears with me anytime. And I'm just like, dog, she's married to
Right.
Jalen Rose. And ultimately what ended up happening, they shut all that down. They have no plans of bringing this dude back for any interviews whatsoever.
Right.
Because that was live on TV, very disrespectful, a little bit chauvinist. It was just one of those things where I honestly think that he just went a little bit too far. Especially,
He always pushes the envelope, not necessarily in a sexual way, but just him being him. It's all about the brand and all that,
Right.
Like, I understand trying to keep his name as far, like his kids, like relevant and all that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, if I was his kid, like, I'd be flat out embarrassed.
100%
Especially
embarrassed.
behind what just happened,
Yep.
on ESPN. So,
His kids, his wife, the entire family. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, I get it. You're trying to promote the brand, but as of right now, you just cut your free promo like completely off because you're no longer going to be on ESPN.
Right.
And then your only outlet now, for the most part, if not local media outlets, it's going to be Fox. So if they even want you.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, going back to Zion, everybody knew he was going to get there. I'm just excited to see him play and see what he does from the get-go because I think he's obviously going to contribute early.
Yeah.
Yep. With the number 2 draft picked, they went with J.A. Morant. This guy is a problem. He averaged 28.5 last year, shot 48.5%. 6'3", 175, great ball handler. He could do everything. Great guy. I just think that he's going to be a problem in the future, and we're looking more to see what he can do and how he can develop.
Who had the second overall pick?
That was give me a second. Pelicans draft.
And see, I don't know. I kind of had plans to check out the draft,
Right.
but I mean, we were doing work outside, and all that type of stuff. I don't know. I'm just not too high, like on the NBA anyway.
Right.
Outside of Zion and where he was going to go, which again was no surprise. And then the Wizards, we picked 9th.
Yeah.
So, and we took that kid, he's originally, where's he from? Like Japan or something like that?
Yeah.
So the Grizzlies had the number 2 pick.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of figure that's where they were going to go because they moved away from Conley and they traded him away.
Mm-hmm.
So, so like I said, they're just trying to build towards the future. And then with the number 3 pick, the Knicks went with R.J. Barrett. This guy I would more or less call more like an all-purpose guard. I mean, he can score, but that's not his biggest strength. I mean, he can play defense, but it's not his biggest strength. I mean, he's just one of those guys that can literally do everything. He's going to be a more or less, in my opinion, a role player. He does need to work on his shot.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think like the Knicks have something to build around now. They just got to get another marquee max player. Which
reports were supposed to be KD
or something. They're gonna do a sign-in trade with Golden State and send him over there. That whole nine. But hopefully he does well with the Knicks. I mean, the ceiling's is high as he makes it. I mean, he's he's a good player. He played for Duke. I watched him throughout his last season.
Right.
He gets buckets. Great guy, great player. But overall, with that organization, hopefully they fix some of that front office, because if they don't, I mean...
they've consistently been just kind of all over the place.
All over the place.
Almost like the, I guess kind of like the Giants, the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Just all over the place.
All over the place, and I think that's the story of New York teams right now.
Seems to be.
I mean, across the board, outside of the Yankees, I mean, as far as basketball and football, it's pretty trash. So
yeah,
as far as front office, So like I said, all these at least the top 3 or 4 picks, I'm looking forward to watching into the season next season. And my last point with the NBA draft is the fact that Bol fell to 44. Like, this guy was projected to be at least top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's like 7. He's 7'2". Finishes at the rim. His dad actually played in the NBA. Yeah, great player. Real skinny. His biggest criticism though was the fact that he needs to put on weight.
Right.
And because of the fact he needs to put on weight, they're like, yeah, we're not so sure. But now this guy has a chip on his shoulder, getting drafted by the Nuggets, and I think he has the potential to show out and do damage. Like I said, he's a great finisher around the rim. He's a great blocker. Does a lot. I just like seeing those come up stories with this guy. So
plus too, you would think, okay, being young, he'll potentially grow into his body.
Right.
He's in a professional training environment where they'll do what they can to put the weight on him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you give it 2 to 3 seasons, and you should see the progression.
Yeah, not only that, he walked into a great situation with the Nuggets. Like, if you want to be drafted by anybody that's growing, that's where I would want to go.
Mm-hmm.
They just have so many great players on that squad. Guy that comes to mind, Jokic. It's just one of those franchises that they're on the come up, and within the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be a problem.
Right.
So that's what I got.
All right.
Awesome.
And my take on the NBA draft and all things NBA, we'll wait for that opinion because I just don't follow it very much.
Yep. All right, awesome. So moving on to NFL news. So not much has changed since last week as far as my Eagles. I've seen that they've worked more on with Carson Wentz in his passing game and just developing chemistry with the new guys, with Deshaun Jackson and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. things of that nature. But the biggest news that came out this past week was that they were going to charge for training camp, and they're only going to have one.
Right.
But those proceeds go to their Autism Challenge initiative, which I think is a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just one of the charities that they've been working with forever. They're looking to bring more awareness to people with autism. And you guys know I'm a teacher. I've taught many students with autism, and by no means does that condition, disease, however you want to call it, hinder their ability to learn. They just have a disability, and you got to make accommodations.
Well, you find most of them are extremely smart.
Oh my! Don't get me started.
I mean, extremely smart. You know, they a lot of times their brains operate differently.
Yeah, that's
and so I've always enjoyed like my time being around like autistic kids. You know, even if they're like nonverbal. Yeah, some of them are very good at drawing and getting their like thoughts and opinions and feelings across through that.
Yep.
Or building things. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good cause. Clearly.
Yeah.
I was shocked though that they're only having one day open for the fans.
Right. I don't know what their strategy with that is. I'm guessing to maximize turnout so they can make the most money for their charity initiative.
Right.
Which is, I mean, it's a smart move because the tickets are only $10. So
well, right.
Really can't, so you really can't. I mean, you really can't knock the price. It is what it is.
Yeah. Do you know when that is?
That will be taking place on Sunday, August 5th at 7 p.m. The gates open at 5, so you can fill in the stadium at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's when that's going down.
Well, so that's
Lincoln
like
Financial.
late. That's like late in camp.
That's
yeah,
real
because
late in camp.
Because originally when I had first heard it, I didn't hear the date, but I had heard just the 1 day small charge thing. So I thought initially, like you said, okay, we'll say it's just the 1 day, so people can come, they can maximize their proceeds, and then I thought maybe like they would open up more training dates after, like for the fans. But since it's so late in camp, they probably won't.
Yeah, probably won't.
That's interesting.
Yep, and then the next biggest piece is that they've officially announced joint practice with the Baltimore Ravens. And it will be at Lincoln Financial Field. The dates will be that they're going to have joint practices the 19th and the 20th of August. And I don't know how you feel, but I actually do enjoy joint practices because you're going and you're competing against people that aren't on the roster that you're already used to. A lot of people's tendencies and what their triggers are and things like that. Just getting face-to-face with people that aren't in your building.
Right.
So it's always beneficial.
Yeah. And so I would largely agree with that because you got to think like through the OTAs and the mini camps and then sliding into training camp. It's hot. You know, you're going 2 days. You're going against the same people over and over. So tempers flare. Everybody knows that. So it is like a breath of fresh air to get a whole new team to come in.
Yes, sir.
Now those joint practices have been known to get just as chippy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I remember a couple years ago when the Redskins, we had joint practice with the Houston Texans, which they happened to be on Hard Knocks that year, and
that was a legendary practice.
Yeah, and so they get to talking mess and going at each other and all that. And
D'Angelo Hall and DeAndre Hopkins,
right? And then I think it was. I don't think it was Hopkins. I think it was a guy on their defense was like, man, let's get the F out of Richmond. Like let's go back. So some of the players like it, some don't. But just I guess from organizational standpoint, I would think it is beneficial because it's like you said, that offense is going against the same defense.
Yes.
And to see a different team, maybe they run a different tempo, just a whole different, setup, whether it's formation, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's beneficial. I actually haven't heard if the Skins were going to do any joint practices this season. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what comes of it, what, highlights or information comes out as a result of, but the biggest thing that everybody always needs to be mindful of is injuries in camp.
Right.
So you got to be real careful with that aspect, especially when you're going up against teams that or going up against players that aren't in the same building. So there might be a little bit of a different energy. And hopefully they're smart about the reps of your starters and your veterans, especially with us and, Jason Peters and guys like that who have been around but have known to be injury prone lately.
Right.
So hopefully they're
you'll probably see guys like that kind of sit out. But on the flip side of that, you'll see, well, we won't see, but you'll get the coaching staffs will sit down like from both teams like the day before or whatever and say, okay, hey, this is what we're trying to do, run 10-play script or whatever, and they'll even say, okay, how hard are you trying to go,
right,
type of thing, and they'll even say, okay, first sign of stuff getting chippy, boom, you take your guys, you go down that way, we'll go down this way,
right,
because nobody wants to get injured, because I mean, you got to think, like, when it comes to that, you're going to want to run your ones against your ones, and then, your second team squad against their second team squad, because what you don't want is somebody fighting to make a team, going hard against the ones who are just out here to, okay, hey, I got to get these reps,
right,
and you got some guy coming hard off the edge, or some young running back, like, getting up through that gap, running over a linebacker, or stepping on somebody's ankle. So, like, they do their best, but, yeah, it's still going to be beneficial.
I think, and my last point on that is I think also having this joint practice will also limit how much you actually see Carson Wentz in a preseason game.
Yeah.
Because if he's getting, game tempo speed in camp and with a joint practice, and he's not allowed to be touched versus an actual preseason game where he can be hit,
right,
I think you may only see him maybe for a series, the third game. That's
usually
about
their
it.
Dress rehearsal.
Yeah. So, yep.
Well, so one thing I did talk about at the end of our last show, I wanted to talk about Dwayne Haskins. So people I call it the great debate right now, whether he'll start week 1 or, 2, 3, 4, whenever. Reports are that initially he did well, obviously, like the rookie minicamp stuff. He gets the ball out quick, throws a pretty ball, strong arm, make all the throws. But then during like OTAs and things like that, he was throwing multiple picks. I don't know if it was him just like staring receivers down, whatever. I take a positive in that. In the sense of he's not afraid to throw the ball.
Nah. You don't want anybody afraid to throw the ball in the NFL.
Right. Whereas we had like RG3, everybody remembers like, okay, you think RG3, you think legs, right? Dude had a cannon, but when he dropped back in the pocket, he would hold the ball and hold the ball and hold the ball.
Way too long.
You had Kirk Cousins at times who would hold the ball and hold the ball and hold the ball. And so it's like for Haskins to get rid of it, that's cool with me.
Absolutely.
Hell, I don't even mind if you throw it away. If you're looking, you go through all your progressions, you don't see anybody, throw it away.
Right.
But by him just getting rid of the ball and getting it out of his hands, now the coaches and him can go back and watch that film and say, okay, boom, the ball came out on time.
Yep.
But you didn't see that linebacker or that safety crept over the top, like whatever that actual issue is. Now, having said that, we did talk about Trent Williams being MIA for, multiple reasons as far as the reports are. He's unhappy with the organization. Now, I would say this. If Trent does not come back and he's not there to start week 1, I don't care how well Haskins is playing, let him ride the bench. Because you let Case and then Colt and then worst case scenario, then Haskins comes in, but he would be just holding that clipboard all year until you can hopefully find and solve that problem at that position.
Because the last thing you want is your future injured, and the last thing you want is your future's confidence killed because he's getting hit, he's getting blown up. Yeah, you don't want that problem. So I 100% agree.
And we had that problem years and years and years ago. Redskins fans will remember Patrick Ramsey. And he got murdered. Yeah. And he just got gun shy. Yep. Even when there was nobody around, he's hearing footsteps. And so, no, I don't want that with Haskins. There is no reason to rush him in there.
Nope.
Because you do have Case Keenum. And then you do have Colt McCoy.
Yes, you do.
Colt McCoy, clearly, because he's been here for so long.
He knows the system.
He knows the system in and out. And not only that, but he runs it the way Jay wants it.
Yes.
So, he will have that leg up. To me, Open competition, that's fine, that's cool. But again, in the back of my mind, if Trent isn't there, take Haskins out of the equation.
100%.
Unless you get your first two QBs hurt and he's got no choice.
Yeah.
But let's just say a perfect scenario, perfect world, Trent comes back. And it's going to depend on how much of that playbook Haskins has picked up between the end of OTAs and the start of training camp.
Yes, sir.
And then the quality of reps. So now here's the thing. The organization, they're going to have to, and it's just like any other team, they're going to have to figure out in their mind, okay, who are we rolling with now as our number one?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to be the guy that's going to get the most reps.
Yes, sir.
So that's the thing that's hard, is trying to get Keenum enough reps, who has to still learn the system, just like Alex Smith did last year.
Right.
And get him up to speed if he's projected to be your number one.
Yes,
or
sir.
is it going to be Haskins? So either way, but you still are getting two new QBs to the system, and Haskins is just a new QB, up to speed as fast as you can with that limited time in camp. So it's going to be hard. But if, again, Trent's back, everybody's healthy going into the season, and Haskins basically wins it outright, then play the kid. If not, like we've talked about before, it's murderer's row for the first 5-6 weeks of the season. You know what I mean? You can start him later on then. So
yeah.
I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I mean, Haskins said it right at the end of OTAs that, you know, he's basically going to eat, sleep, and breathe that playbook. So I mean, we'll see. Hopefully he you know, digs in and gets it done.
Absolutely. And you know what? And it's one of those things that with him being a rookie quarterback, one thing you guys have already addressed is the fact that you guys have a decent backfield with Geis and Peterson.
Yep.
And that's one guy I'm actually looking forward to see hopefully play a full season is Darius Geis, because I'm a huge fan of running backs no matter what team it is. If you're good, I want to watch you make those cuts and truck people. So I'm interested to see interested to see that man play. Yeah, so there we go. And today, I'm pretty sure the NFL released a list of most talented rosters. Then there are 10 of them. We'll probably only get through about 5 because our time's cutting a little short. But
I know the Browns got to be up there. No?
So let's start. We'll work our way backwards. Let's start with 10. Do you make a quality guess as who do you think the number 10 most talented roster is?
Jeez.
It's a shocker.
Chiefs.
No, they have the Giants at number 10.
The Giants.
The Giants, because they're leaning on
the New York Football Giants.
The New York Football Giants.
No.
They're leaning on the fact that they have Evan Ingram, the fact that they have a couple of guys. They have hold on, wrong list. They're leaning on the fact that they have I guess Saquon Barkley a little bit. I don't know. It's just I think it's a bad list.
All right, so they got them at 10.
They got them at 10. Jumping further up, you can see teams like the Cowboys made the list at number 2. The Eagles are number 1 just based on depth. And then you also have the Steelers pretty far up there. So, I mean, this goes back to our previous argument as far as on paper. Everything looks great on paper, but at the end of the day, it's about showing up and doing what you need to do to be productive and help your team win.
Well, right. And I mean, I've always said that too, because people, you know, they shake my hand and pat me on the back, you know, whether it's at work or whatever. Hey man, you guys signed Landon Collins, man, your defense can be this, your defense can be that.
Right.
And then in the draft, man, you guys like won the draft. I don't care about any of that. I mean, it's great for what it is because, you know, it's a checkpoint or benchmark. Like it comes before the season. But I mean, it's like you said, all of that crap on paper doesn't always translate into actual wins and losses.
Right, because it's about chemistry, it's about digesting the playbook, it's about showing up, it's about being productive, it's about playing your position well and doing your job.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
doesn't
so
always
much.
happen.
Yeah, so much goes into it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. But for the Giants to even make the list, I mean, I didn't figure the Skins would be on the top 10 of anything.
Yeah.
Because our offense is lackluster. Receiving core is kind of, to be determined. I know that they are real high on Trey Quinn taking over in the slot to replace Jamison Crowder, which most had projected last year. But that kid, he's got to stay healthy.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, the Giants though
that's a scary situation. I don't know. I just think that I don't know. I don't know what that guy was thinking, but they do have Saquon Barkley and 2 okay receivers, but those receivers in Sterling Shepard and Golden Tate also need a true number 1 so that they can actually benefit in their offense. So I'm interested to see how that dynamic works out.
Yeah,
and their offensive line isn't the best. I think, in my opinion, that's one of their biggest criticisms is the fact that the offensive line is a little sus because Saquon Barkley he's gonna get you 2 games throughout the season.
Yeah. But
that's about it. You got to make holes. You got to make blocks. You got to open up the field for him to make cuts and do what he needs to do. If you already have linebackers and defensive ends in your face, I don't care who your running back is. Nothing's gonna happen.
Right. Well, and then not only that, but him being your number 1 threat, and then you have Ingram. Is that who it is?
Evan Ingram, the tight end. Yeah.
You shut those 2 people down, make them beat you somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Eli's been throwing picks all camp, so I don't
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see.
They might have paid that reporter or that senior analyst to drop that dime in there because if I was a Giants fan, I probably wouldn't be showing up to a game within the first half of the season. I'm waiting for the ticket prices to drop if I'm going to show up to one.
Right. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, having said all that, there's 78 days until football.
Yep.
So camps are getting ready to start. Well, I say getting ready to start about 30 days. I guess most are towards the end of July. So, we're getting there slowly but surely. I will say before we go, though, the Nats did sweep the Phillies.
I don't want to talk about that because I was at work and I was watching. I was getting mad, and then everybody was in there laughing at me because I'm the only Phillies fan in, I guess, that area. So it was just one of those things where I was just really upset. And I was just like, Arrieta is he's not an ace at this point. Even the guy that had starting last night, who was that? That was I forget his name right now. It doesn't even matter because he was complete trash. But I remember his stats. This dude was like his ERA or whatever it was for pitching was like 10 or something crazy. Like it was insane. Like everybody was swinging for the fences, getting great hits. It was just a mess. I don't know. I just think our Phillies aren't panning out right now to be the team that we're
there's
expecting.
Still a lot of season left. It's the same.
We wanted them
with
to be,
the Nats.
but there is a lot of season left. Hopefully, I think our biggest issue right now is our pitching. Our pitching's been trash. But as far as bats and everything, they're there. It's just you got to pitch better.
Yeah, and then the issue with the Nats is our bullpen.
There's a lot of teams.
Yeah, they're just still not like trustworthy. So. Hopefully they can turn around. They've been playing well as of late, all of May. They've been killing it.
Right.
So we start I think it's a 3-game series. Yeah, it's across the weekend with the Braves. So Strasburg.
That's a real test, though, because it's like literally as far as teams projected to be in the playoffs on our side is us, you guys, and the Braves.
Right.
As the top 3.
And I think the Nats are only. I want to say it's like 2 or 4 games out of the wild card for now. Again, there's so much season left.
So much
the
season
All-Star break
left.
is around the corner.
Yep.
But like I said, so Strasburg will be going against Dallas Keuchel, who the Braves signed a little bit ago. He wasn't on the team at the start of the season. So hopefully he's rusty. Because that dude is nice.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like I said, the Nats been playing well. Rendon, him coming back, Trey Turner coming back.
Yep.
Since they've been back, the team has kind of really been where it needed to be. But hey, that's our time.
Yes, sir.
Be sure to hit up our website, averagesportsguys.com. You can find the links to all of our social media there. There'll be the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, you can go on the website. You can find the podcast there. Go to YouTube. You can watch the video podcast.
Yes, sir.
And we thank you for your time. And until next time.
Yep, we're the Average Sports Guys. We out.